said the same. He said the same thing. I don't believe, and he doesn't believe that there are kids, because you don't yank around and use alleged.
Never heard of a baby bump being so variable, and not to mention swinging from side to side. Oh, let's do the cha-cha, or shall we do chubby checker? Let's twist again like we never twisted.
Honey, buckle up, because this is the kind of jaw-dropping drama that has even the most seasoned royal watchers gasping. What went down on that flight? Whew! Let's just say it's got the entire royal palace spinning in full-blown panic mode. Damage control? More like DEFCON 5. And you know what? It's about time someone finally spoke out. No more hush-hush whispers behind palace walls. The crew, who were actually there, yes, right there in the middle of it all, are now stepping forward with the kind of explosive tea that will chill you to your core. We're not talking minor attitude here, no ma'am. These flight attendants have seen everything, from rock star tantrums to actual diplomatic meltdowns. But this, what they witnessed on that flight, was so unnerving it's still haunting them. Now, enter Dan Wootton, who dropped this bombshell after being approached by a senior British Airways flight attendant. And get this, it wasn't even during an investigation or interview. This crew member came up to Dan completely on her own because she was that disturbed by what she saw. That's how intense it was. She wasn't some newbie looking for attention. Now, this was a pro, a seasoned international flight attendant who served royalty, A-listers, diplomats, you name it. But Meghan's behavior? That was next level. According to her, during the entire flight to South Africa back in September 2019, Archie was just 4 months old, mind you. Meghan did not touch him, not once, didn't hold him, didn't comfort him, didn't even look at him. Just let that sink in.
Meghan refused to touch or look after Archie even once. She didn't look at him. She had zero interest when he was upset. And she expected the staff the entire time to take care of that baby.
Let's just pause for a second and think about what that means. We're talking about a long-haul transatlantic flight, hours in the air. And not once did this mother show any affection, care, or even interest in her own baby. Archie cried, needed soothing. Meghan simply expected the nannies and flight crew to handle it all. She stayed completely detached, ice cold. And here's where things take a darker turn. The flight attendant was clear. There was no bond. None. This wasn't a case of an exhausted mom taking a break. This was something else. Something off. The maternal instinct? Totally absent. So much so that the crew was left shaken, wondering what on earth they were witnessing.
Airways air hostess about the total opposite. About the fact that Ms. Markle is now famous for the atrocious ways that she treats crews on international flights, including, by the way, on American Airlines.
But here's where it really gets chilling. Meghan's entire demeanor shifted when Harry was around. But suddenly, she'd flip a switch. She'd be all warm and chatty with the crew, pretending to be the perfect mom and wife. But the second Harry walked away or was out of earshot, boom, cold, aloof, dismissive, two-faced, doesn't even begin to cover it. This isn't the first time we've heard about this Jekyll and Hyde behavior either. Palace staff have said the same thing for years. The manipulation, the acting. She knew how to play the loving wife and mother in front of Harry, but the second the audience was gone, the mask came off. And if that kind of manipulation is happening during family trips, imagine what else is being staged. The poor flight crew saw it all firsthand. Meghan twisting situations, controlling narratives, even manipulating Harry to maintain her perfect public image. But guess what? This flight wasn't a one-off incident. No. According to Wootton's investigation, Meghan has a history of being just plain awful to airline staff, way before she even met Prince Harry. Back in her Suits days when she was jetting between Toronto and LA, the diva behavior was already in full bloom. Crew members from American Airlines told Dan point blank, Meghan was hands down the worst celebrity they ever dealt with. Rude, cold, dismissive. She'd demand first-class upgrades even though she was booked in economy. And her attitude? Just unbearable. And listen, this pattern proves something major. It's not like all this started when she joined the royal family. This wasn't pressure from royal duties turning her cold. Nope, this is who she's always been, someone who looks down on service workers, treats people like they're disposable.
It's not new. Meghan Markle had a reputation with airline staff for many years before she even entered the royal family. And this was because, of course, she would often crisscross from across the Atlantic in order to attend Soho House events and also in order to attend filmings for.
And while Dan was busy pulling the curtain back on Meghan's behavior at 30,000 feet, Lady Colin Campbell decided to throw her own grenade into the conversation. She revealed that she reached out to palace officials personally. Why? Because the public wasn't just whispering about Meghan's attitude. They were buzzing about her pregnancies too. And Lady C, she didn't hold back. She flat out said what everyone had been thinking. Meghan's baby bump just didn't add up. It was constantly shifting, swaying side to side like it was doing the cha-cha. One day big, next day small. It just didn't look real. Almost too performative, too staged.
Being so variable, and not to mention swinging from side to side. Oh, let's do the cha-cha, or shall we do chubby checker? Let's twist again like we never twisted before.
Now, here's where it gets even juicier. Lady Colin confirmed that the palace never told her to stop talking about the surrogate rumors, not once. And the moment her inbox started overflowing with thousands of messages from people questioning Meghan's pregnancies, she felt compelled to raise the alarm. She wasn't pushing a conspiracy theory. She was passing along what people were seeing with their own eyes. But then came the real shocker from Meghan's own family. Her own father, Thomas Markle, through her half-sister Samantha, said the quiet part out loud. He doesn't believe Meghan actually gave birth to Archie or Lilibet. Let that sink in. This isn't coming from random trolls or gossip blogs. This is Meghan's father, the man who should know everything about his daughter's life. And if he doesn't believe she gave birth, then honey, something's very wrong. Why would a father say something so damning unless he truly believed it?
He said the same thing. I don't believe, and he doesn't believe that there are kids, because you don't yank around and use alleged.
And then Samantha drops the mother of all bombshells. She said Thomas told her that just 9 months before Archie was born, Meghan had picked up her frozen eggs. Do the math. If she was using her frozen eggs 9 months before Archie's supposed birth, then how could she have been pregnant naturally? This wasn't some offhanded comment. This was a specific detail from someone inside the family, someone who knows. Thomas was baffled. If surrogacy was involved, why all the secrecy? Why pretend? He couldn't understand why anyone would go to such lengths to hide it. And if he were in the loop, wouldn't Meghan have just told him? But no. Thomas Markle found out about Meghan's pregnancies the same way we all did, through the media. Can you imagine finding out you're going to be a grandfather from the news? That's not normal. That's calculated.
Archie was not born at the hospital where all royal births take place. And we were lied to about the timing and when she apparently went into labor. I was covering all of that very...
Now here's where things go from shady to downright scandalous. Samantha Markle, Meghan's own sister, isn't just airing dirty laundry. She's burning the whole closet down. She came right out and said that her father's doubts aren't just family drama. They cut to the core of the royal succession line. Think about that. If Meghan didn't actually give birth to Archie and Lilibet, then what does that mean for their place in the royal family? And Samantha isn't mincing words. Her frustration practically oozes from her voice when she says, if they used a surrogate, admit it. That's it. Just tell the truth. Don't lie to the world. Just be honest. But no, instead of being transparent, Meghan crafted this pristine narrative. She sold us this image of a glowing, graceful Duchess mother, all while, according to her own family, she may have been covering up the truth. And let's be real, Samantha and Thomas Markle, they don't have anything to gain from this. Nothing. In fact, by calling out Meghan's inconsistencies, they're slamming the door on any hope of reconciling with her. That's not something people do lightly. This isn't some cheap tabloid grab. This is deep-rooted hurt, betrayal, and a desire to tell the truth, no matter the consequences. Thomas has said over and over how much he wants to meet his grandchildren he's never even seen. How heartbreaking is that? But he also can't make sense of what he's been told. The timing, the secrecy, the frozen eggs, the lack of a simple phone call from his daughter, it all just doesn't add up. And the worst part? Meghan never told her father about either of her pregnancies, not one word. He found out by reading headlines like the rest of us. What kind of daughter does that? A daughter with something to hide, perhaps? Unless maybe Meghan wasn't the one who gave birth? Let that sink in. It's one thing for names to be misspelled, but to deliberately delete the mother's full identity from the official record? That's shady. Really shady. And it gets worse.
Believe who I just had on my flight, who I had a pleasure of serving. The Queen, the Princess, the Duchess of Sussex. She wrote us a little handwritten note back. So we wrote her a note that said, "It's a pleasure of serving you. We love you real bad."
Once a royal baby is added to the family tree, legally registered, removing them isn't easy. It takes more than just a quiet meeting behind palace doors. You'd need legal procedures, public statements. It would be a full-blown constitutional disaster, which means if there's any doubt about how those children came into the world, the palace is stuck between a rock and a royal scandal. Addressing it would destroy their carefully curated image. Ignoring it? Well, that just keeps the whispers alive. But oh no, Meghan didn't stop there. Because just as Dan Wootton was exposing her terrible treatment of airline staff, wouldn't you know it, a suspiciously sweet story started floating around the press. Suddenly, everyone was talking about how Meghan had written a heartfelt note to an American Airlines flight attendant. Aw, how thoughtful, right? Wrong. Dan Wootton saw right through it. That little note story, it reeked of a PR stunt. Because here's the thing, American Airlines crew members aren't even allowed to discuss celebrity passengers publicly, let alone share the content of their notes. That's a serious violation. She's not just rewriting history, she's holding the truth hostage. And no one can speak up without risking their careers or facing lawsuits. Meanwhile, Meghan's out here smiling in photo ops and sending notes like she's the queen of kindness.
Desperate to be liked, but doesn't want to change anything about who she is in terms of just being authentic. And I think she has to make these little stunts to make herself seem likable.
The same disturbing pattern shows up in how she's playing games with. The same disturbing pattern shows up in how she presents herself as a mother. But who's the one dragging them out for a staged paparazzi stroll whenever she needs some good press? Exactly. It's all strategy. Every part of it, from the bump to the birth certificate to the stroller photos.
Their child and, want the staff to constantly feed them. She doesn't want anything to do with her own children. They are props in this whole PR game that she is playing to make her look like a loving mother. She is nothing to be admired. Her true self is nasty.
And if you want to see the real Meghan, look no further than that flight attendant story. When no one important was watching, no cameras, no Harry, Meghan allegedly couldn't be bothered to care for Archie, completely ignored him, let the staff deal with it. Because behind the glitz and glam, behind the staged shots and loving looks, lies a woman who may have built her entire public persona on illusions. And the saddest part? She's turned motherhood into a brand. Her kids are no longer just children. They're props in her grand image campaign, used when needed, shelved when not. It's all about the optics. Never the authenticity. It's heartbreaking. Because children should never be part of anyone's publicity playbook. They're not tools for sympathy, not shields against criticism, and certainly not accessories for rebranding. But that's exactly what they've become in Meghan's world. And here's the gut punch. The royal family, the media, even the public, we've all been complicit in letting her craft that illusion. The palace by staying silent, the press by amplifying her perfectly curated stories, and us by accepting the narrative without asking too many questions. But now the cracks are showing. The illusion is fading. And it's thanks to people brave enough to speak. Dan Wootton, Lady Colin, Samantha and Thomas Markle, flight crew members risking careers to tell the truth. And slowly that carefully polished facade is shattering. Because this isn't just about Meghan. It's about the integrity of an institution, the legitimacy of a royal bloodline, the emotional toll on people like Thomas Markle, who just wanted to be part of their grandchild's life. It's about truth, and the longer that truth is hidden, the more damaging the fallout will be. If Meghan did use a surrogate, fine, that's her choice. But why lie? Why cover it up? Why build a false narrative that could shake the monarchy to its core? The public doesn't care if a surrogate was used. What they care about is honesty. And when you lie about something as fundamental as a child's birth, especially when that child is in line for the throne, you're not just deceiving fans, you're deceiving a nation that believed in the fairy tale, a nation that welcomed you with open arms, a nation now asking, what else have you lied about? And until those questions are answered, the shadow will remain over Meghan, over Harry, over their children, over the royal family. Because this story, it's no longer just gossip, it's history in the making. And history has a funny way of demanding the truth, no matter how deeply it's buried.